Passing down retirement accounts. So what happens to your retirement accounts when you die? Well, that depends on who you leave it to. If I leave my retirement account to my wife, Tara, then basically if she left it in the account that it's in, she could take RMDs off of it based on my age. If she rolled it into her own account, so if she took my IRA and put it in her IRA, or took my Roth and put it in her Roth, then it would continue on as it normally would based on her RMDs and her age and life. So that's fairly basic. However, if you leave it to a non-spouse, then they have to open up what's called an inherited IRA or a beneficiary IRA. So you got an inherited IRA or inherited Roth IRA. Now this person, let's say I leave it to my son Luke, and he's pretty young right now, but by the time he gets it, let's assume he's going to be about 30. He has three options for how to receive the money. Number one, he could take it as a lump sum. So let's assume the account's worth about $200,000 and he receives it at age 30. If he wants, he can take the whole thing out, which isn't the best tax-wise, but let's say the taxes could cost him 40 or 50 grand. He's still left over with about 150. That's probably more money than he's ever had before. And he may not care that there's quite a bit being taxed because he's left over with 150. He goes and buys a nice car or something. So it's not the most advanced estate plan on the market. But so leaving someone, your heirs, your IRAs, your retirement accounts, it's not a replacement for a trust. You can't dictate how and when they receive the money. You just kind of can tell, you can dictate who gets it at the end of your life. So number one, they can take it as a lump sum. Number two, he could spend it down over a 5-year period. So that means every year for 5 years, he would have to take out 20% of it to spend the money down over a 5-year period. And number three, you could take it out a little bit piece by piece as RMDs for the rest of his life. Now for older people, for retirees, RMDs, or required minimum distributions, are meant to somewhat deplete the account because they're not starting until their early 70s. So they're going to deplete the account. They're taking out pretty big chunks of it per year. But for younger people, let's say my son Luke, if he's 30, then he may only be spending 2, 3, 4% of the account value per year, which probably isn't enough to actually spin the account down. In addition, there's probably enough growth inside the account that's going to be powering it to where it actually may be self-sustaining and not spinning it down at all, even though he's withdrawing a little bit each and every year. So since this is going to be stretching from his age 30 to his age maybe 90, then sometimes this is considered a stretch IRA. And he is taking the money out before 59 and a half, but if you remember, death was actually an exception to the 10% penalty rule. So there is no, regardless of whether he takes it as a lump sum over 5 years or as RMDs, there is no 10% penalty, for any of that. Which is good, but he would be taxed based on ordinary income as long as it's the pre-tax inherited IRA. So what if it's a Roth IRA? Okay, so Roth IRAs normally don't have RMDs, but the three main withdrawal methods still apply. So they're going to have to take it out either as a lump sum over 5 years or as RMDs. Now there is no 10% penalty for the RMDs, and once again, since it's Roth money, it actually isn't taxed, but they are forced to take it out. And if they don't take it out of the inherited IRA or the inherited Roth IRA, there is a 50% penalty. So they want to make sure they take it out, but it's not taxed because it was already after-tax money. And the really only reason why they're being forced to withdraw it and to spend it down is so they don't just keep building up Roth money and passing it down and building up more Roth money to the next generation and passing it down. They're basically being forced to spend debt down and get it out of the Roth side, just so it's not just creating this huge Roth dynasty just to keep passing it down for generations and generations. So it does have to be spent down. So again, if you're leaving it to a spouse, it's pretty simple. It goes to Tara. It just kind of continues on as it normally would. If I leave it to my son Luke, it's going to be an inherited IRA or an inherited Roth IRA. And the three options for taking it out are a lump sum over 5 years or as an RMD, which is kind of going to be more like a stretch IRA that's going to stretch for his entire life.